In 1943, an exciting new sound was heard around British airfields, and a new shape appeared in British skies. It was the de Havilland Vampire, and the whine of its Goblin engine, the absence of a propeller, and its distinctive twin-boom layout marked it as something really different. A new design, a new form of propulsion, a new generation of jet fighters. The Vampire looked fast, and it was. And it had an appetite for fuel to match. The Vampire went on to serve in various marques and in various guises in the air forces of many nations. And it is still flying. Today, more than 60 years after the first Vampire flew, these two-seat trainer versions are still active, based at New Plymouth in the North Island of New Zealand, and popular visitors at air shows all over the country.
Reverse it round.
Soon, we'll find out what it's like to fly formation aerobatics in a Vampire. But first, Brett Emeny, an experienced aerobatic pilot, takes us on a guided tour of this classic aircraft.
The Vampire jet is one of the classic jet fighters of all time. It started off way back in the 1940s with the development. It was built by the de Havilland Aircraft Company, who not only developed the airframe, but they also developed the jet engine at the same time. And it was probably the second or third jet engine ever constructed. I think they had a look at Whittle's jet engine, the first, and then went and developed and built the de Havilland Goblin engine, which is aptly named because it gobbles fuel like it's going out of fashion. The construction of the aircraft's very interesting too, because they used some of the construction techniques at the time where they had developed the Mosquito fighter bomber out of wooden structure. So here we have a jet aircraft with a wooden fuselage and even a pressurized wooden fuselage. So if we come back and have a quick look at this, the construction is basically the fuselage, which is all wood, and it's a wood balsa construction covered with plywood, and we've sanded and cleaned this one up to make it look like metal, but it's definitely wooden construction, and it has metal wings on that, but the structure has to go right through the center of the wood, so it's carried through by some big tubes that go through there, which is a very interesting technique. And to incorporate the jet engine, where in the early jets they had a problem with the tailpipe, couldn't have a long tailpipe, so they had to come up with a whole new design of aircraft, and in this case they really have a flying wing, and then had to put these two very distinctive tail booms on it so that they could get around the problem of long tailpipe with having a tailplane right at the back. So we've ended up with a very unique aircraft that has a very unique shape to it. The aircraft's looking all in good condition. Okay, once you get yourself seated, the seats are really adjustable. You can raise and lower the seat, put some quite tall people in here, or raise it up if you're a bit short like I am. They're nice. The cockpit's quite nicely set up. Really, the control yoke is a bit like a Spitfire grip, so you can get full control travel without interfering with your legs. But if you're looking at doing an inspection of the aircraft, you start right around the left-hand side of the aircraft, which down here, you have the undercarriage and flap controls. So we recycle those up to the speed brakes. And it's all dual control, so you've got speed brakes in the center here as well. The throttle, just check the throttle runs right open and back, and they're interconnected. And then on that same quadrant, you have what they call a high-pressure fuel cock, which turns the fuel on when you're starting the aircraft. So you can just check the function.
Plugged in?
2,500 feet or below.
Okay, Sam, winder up. Fuel booster pump on, fuel booster lights out, starter switch is on, throttle's all set, ready for the start. And the high pressure cock's up, and igniters are running. Waiting for the temperature to come up here. Yeah, it's lit off. Temperature's through 400 degrees, and just monitoring it so it doesn't go past 700. Temperatures are dropping back now, so start's complete, just waiting for the start motor cycle to finish and the motor will drop out. There it is. Okay, and we disconnect the external power. And just the after start checks, oil pressures come up.
What we're doing here is taking the reference points, as you'll see, from the wingtip through to the nose, and looking across at the tailplane, squaring that off so that both rudders are superimposed over each other. This is my slot for the rest of the trip.
At this stage we're just climbing, going to about 6,000 feet. We're going to run in for a low-level aerobatic display, and the first manoeuvre is going to be a line abreast loop. We just line the wingtips up. And we'll be operating probably about 1 to 2 metres apart of the wingtips. I'll be diving down to a speed of about 350 to 380 knots for the initial manoeuvre, and pitching up from about 500 feet. And a loop in the Vampire, use about 4 to 4,500 feet, so we'll be up around 4,000 feet at the top.
The leader has the responsibility of getting us in the right place at the right speed and looking after my safety. So I'm totally trusting in him for the rest of this trip. I won't have any idea where we are in relationship to how low we're flying, or as we're even going through the manoeuvres. You have to completely disregard what's going on in the horizon behind the other aircraft and just fly those position lines and slot to stay in position. And that's how you get a big formation of jets to be perfectly symmetrical.
Turn the cold air unit off, it's a bit hot. And they're really focusing on that airspeed now. Aiming really short. Quite a short runway at New Plymouth here, and we're just going to glide onto the end of the runway. Pull the power off now. We'll float on it.